Coming up on NFL Experts Prediction episode.
We got all the predictions for each game from Sunday and Monday.
Alright, to start us off today, we got the Philadelphia Eagles versus the Cleveland Browns. Who do you have winning this one, Louis?
I'm going to have the Eagles win this one at a 28-10 victory. I don't think the Eagles should have a problem with the Browns. Trent Richardson is questionable to start the game, and I think that the Eagles pass rush is really going to give Brandon Weeden a hard time as they did in the preseason game. And I don't think it's going to be a close game as long as the Eagles limit the mistakes. I think they're going to take this one 28-10, and I think Vic's going to have a very good game.
Yeah, like you said about Trent Richardson, even if he does get the start, he is going to be limited in carries, not going to get the every down carries like he will be when he's 100%. I've got the Eagles taking this one easily, 38-13. I think that Brandon Weeden's not going to put up too many points, and especially against a good defense like the Eagles. And the Browns defense won't be able to handle LeSean McCoy and the Eagles offense.
Yeah, with the Eagles linebackers too, if Richardson doesn't get a lot of the carries, Hardesty's not going to be able to get by DeMeco Ryans and Kendricks and guys like that. So, like you said, I mean, this is going to be a low-scoring game, and I think Weeden might put up a touchdown maybe later in the game.
All right, next we get the Colts versus the Bears. I think this one's going to be a pretty good game, but I'm going to give it to the Bears 24-14. I think that Jay Cutler and Marshall together again, it's going to be a good combo. And even without Urlacher for the Bears defense, they still do have Peppers and Lance Briggs. So I got to give it to the Bears.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you. Only I think the Colts are going to get three extra points. I think the final score is going to be 24-17. I think Luck, he looked really good in the preseason. I think he'll have a pretty good game here. The Bears defense is getting older each year, and I think Luck's going to have a good game. But I think, just like you said, the Bears are just a better team than the Colts, and I think their offense is really going to show, and I expect a big game out of Matt Forte coming into this one healthy.
Yeah, I like the Colts offense. I like Reggie Wayne, and Luck certainly got some good weapons there with rookie tight end Coby Fleener, but I just don't trust their defense against the Bears.
Yeah, and I wouldn't rule out Donald Brown as the running back. I think he's a big sleeper to have a good year this year. Luck's going to be relying on the running game somewhat this year as he's going to get used to the system. So look for this one to be a good game for Donald Brown. Okay, so now we got the Falcons and the Kansas City Chiefs. Dave, who do you think is going to win this one?
I'm going to give it to the Falcons here. I do think the Chiefs are going to have a good season, but I've got the Falcons taking it in a close game, 27-21. I think Michael Turner, he's definitely isn't as good as he was when he was younger, but Matt Ryan's got some of the best receivers in the game with Roddy White and Julio Jones. I think that's just going to be too much to handle for the Chiefs. Yeah,
I'm going to agree with you, and I think the Falcons are going to take this one 21-17. I'm liking the Chiefs, like you said. They are going to have a great year this year, and I think that the Falcons are going to take it, though, by 4 points. And I think I'm really looking for Roddy White to have a really good game here. Matt Ryan's going to be looking down the field against that Chiefs secondary. And, I think it'll be a really good game, but I think the Falcons' defense in the end will hold the Chiefs. But I do expect a big game from Peyton Hillis.
Yeah, Peyton Hillis and Jamal Charles. That's a good running game. But other than Dwayne Bell, they don't really have too many receivers there. And Castle isn't really the best quarterback who can make those young guys into great receivers. So I got to give it to the Falcons.
Yeah, they don't really have a great reliable tight end either. They got guys like Mo Psyche or however you say his name. And then you got Kevin Boss, a former Giant and Raider. And I just think, you need, especially for Matt Castle, you need that kind of security blanket to, dump off to and get good gains. So I'm going to give this one to the Falcons as well.
All right, next we've got the Buffalo Bills versus the Jets. I've got to give this one to Buffalo in a very good game. It's in New York, division matchup, and there's been a lot of hype about the Jets this year with Tim Tebow coming in. Even though Tebow's got the most hype for a backup quarterback, I really don't think Tebow's going to have much of an impact besides the couple of wildcat plays he runs. The Buffalo Bills have really improved their front four this offseason and their secondary drafting Stephon Gilmore. I think it's going to go to Buffalo 24-21 in a close game.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a really good game, and like you, I think it's going to come down to a field goal, and I think the final score is going to be the Bills win it 17-14. Thing is, I think it's going to be a close game, though, because I'm still looking for that second big weapon next to Steve Johnson, and so far at the start of the season it's going to be Donald Jones, but we'll see the kind of production they got of him. The good thing is for the Bills, though, is the Jets have just as many problems at the receiver position, only I think they have worse because I think Stevie Johnson is a much better receiver than San Antonio Holmes, and like you said, the Bills bulked up their line and their defensive in the secondary, and I think they're going to shut them down, and like you said, Tebow's going to be limited in this game, and like last year, I think the Bills are going to take him out of this game.
It's going to be interesting to see Stevie Johnson against Darrelle Revis. It's been a good matchup the past couple of games. It really has gone either way, and you never really know who's going to get the best of each other.
Yeah, Steve Johnson's found his way off Revis Island a lot of the both games last year. Whenever Revis, I was watching some of the highlights, when Revis backs up, Johnson was great with those quick slants, and I mean he's the main receiver that I've seen give Revis that hard of a time.
All right, next game we got the Rams versus the Lions. I think this one's really an easy one, but Louis, what do you think is going to happen?
I think the final score is going to be 28-7, the Lions. Like you said, this is going to be an easy one for the Lions. The Rams are, I don't really looking to play upset here. And I do expect Steven Jackson to have an okay game. I think he'll really be the load in this game for the Rams. But the Lions, I think, are going to win it with really just a far score. And I think Calvin Johnson and Matt Stafford are going to have a huge game.
Oh, yeah, I mean, Calvin Johnson, he's definitely going to have a touchdown or two. That's going to happen a lot this year. And Matt Stafford, a young quarterback who finally played a full season last year, I just think he's got nothing but upside. So it's going to be a good game, but I've easily got the Lions winning at 31-10.
Yeah, and I'm looking for Titus Young to have a big game as well. The Rams secondary, it's getting stronger, but I think it's still a little bit weaker. And I think he's going to give rookie Janoris Jenkins some hard times in this game.
Yeah, another thing that about the Lions receiving game, the defense is oh my God, I missed it. The opposing team's defense is so focused on Calvin Johnson that they leave receivers like Titus Young and Nate Burleson on single coverage, and lets them get open a lot of the time over the field because there's no safety help with the trouble with Calvin Johnson. So Calvin Johnson's just a huge factor to that offense. I think it's going to be an easy win for the Lions.
And don't forget about Brandon Pettigrew. He's going to be a big guy to help out the Lions as well. Next game we got is the Washington Redskins against the New Orleans Saints. Dave, who do you think is going to win this one?
Well, the Redskins got RG3, and the Saints are having the bounty scandal problems, but they still have Drew Brees at quarterback, Darren Sproles, a great running back, and Marcus Colston, also a great receiver. I still think the Saints are the Saints, even on offense, even without Sean Payton. I still think Drew Brees will do he doesn't really need Payton to run that offense. I got to give it to the Saints 24-17.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you. I think the Saints are going to take this one, but I think they're going to be have a higher score with 35-21. And going to the Redskins, they have some good upside on the offense, obviously, with Robert Griffin III, but I'm really liking what Pierre Garçon's going to do this year, and also the two running backs, Evan Royster and Roy Haleu, whichever one's got the hot hand, Shanahan's going to put in. But I think the Saints will be able to stop it pretty easily. They got some nice weapons with Jimmy Graham and Marcus Colston, and also Darren Sproles, and don't forget about, I like this guy a lot, Devery Henderson, who other than Deshaun Jackson, averaged over 5 more yards than any receiver last year in the league per catch.
All right, the next matchup, we got the Dolphins versus the Texans. People think the Texans are going to do great this year. I can agree with them. I've got the Texans winning at 17-10, a pretty close game. Lou, what do you think's going to happen?
Yeah, I think they're going to win this one 24-7. I think Tannehill's going to have some growing pains in this game in his season opener. I really like what the Texans have on defense. Obviously Wade Phillips is already predicting that J.J. Watt's going to the Hall of Fame, as he said earlier in the offseason. And I really like him a lot, and I think the Texans are going to take this one easy. And I expect a big game out of the running game with Arian Foster and Ben Tate.
Yeah, also got a great receiving game with Andre Johnson leading the way. And Matt Schaub, he's a great quarterback, and the Texans managed to get to the playoffs without him last year for some of the time. So even with Schaub back there, they're going to be even better.
Yeah, my only question is just who is the second guy next to Andre Johnson. They lost Jacoby Jones, and I just don't know. I mean, they didn't replace it in the draft. I thought they were going to go after a guy like Kendall Wright or Stephen Hill, but they still haven't really addressed that position. So I look to be Owen Daniels to be that secondary option for Matt Schaub. And like you said, with the Texans getting to the playoffs last year without Schaub, I think they're going to have a big year this year, and I think they'll get off to a good win and start 1-0.
All right, next we got the Patriots versus the Titans. I think this one's pretty easy. We both agree on the Patriots, right? Mm-hmm. Except I've got them 38-24. How about you?
I got them 38-21, so it's a pretty close score. And I just think that the Patriots, I don't think the Titans are going to back down from this. I expect Chris Johnson to have a big game. I think he's going to have a rebound year. He had a pretty bad year last season, but with a full offseason under his belt this year, I think he's going to look pretty good. But I just don't think the Titans defense can stop Tom Brady and all of his weapons. And I even look at the running game for the Patriots to have a better year with Stephen Ridley, and I think he's going to be a breakout player this year.
Yeah, also mentioning Chris Johnson, he's going to have a bounce-back year in my opinion. But looking at the new improved Patriots line, drafting Donta Hightower and Chandler Jones in the draft, I think they're going to be able to contain Chris Johnson enough to get the win easily.
Alright, so now we got the Jaguars versus the Vikings. It's going to be a low-scoring game in my opinion. I think that the Vikings are going to take this one at a score of 13-7. And Peterson is a game-time decision, Coach Frazier said. And I just don't see the Jaguars with Maurice Jones-Drew just coming in. I mean, when you look at what happened with Chris Johnson last year, this has been going on longer than it did with Johnson last year. So I just think that this is really going to hurt the Jaguars. And I only see them get on the board once, and I like the Vikings to take this one.
I like the Vikings too. I've got them winning 16-10. Both teams are in a running back situation with MJD's holdout just coming to an end a week ago, and Peterson's had a huge injury over the offseason. But both backup running backs are going to be pretty good with Toby Gerhart for the Vikings and Rashard Jennings for the Jaguars. But what I think it's going to come down to is the receiving game and quarterbacks. Christian Ponder, I would take over Blaine Gabbert any day. And also Percy Harvin I'd like over Justin Blackman. I'm not too big of a fan of him.
Yeah, I agree. It is an interesting quarterback situation battle with the two first-round draft picks of last season with Christian Ponder and Blaine Gabbert. And like you said, I think I would take Ponder as well. I did not like Gabbert from the start of the draft last season. And I just think that neither one really has a reliable tight end option, and I'm a big fan of tight ends. I think with young quarterbacks, they should rely on them. They're easy targets to get the ball to. But when you look at the Vikings, they lost Visante Shenko, and the Jaguars with Mercedes Lewis. Mercedes Lewis had a very bad year last year. He was nowhere to be seen, and so that's another reason why. But I like the Vikings still. I just think they're an overall better team.
All right, next we got the Carolina Panthers with young quarterback Cam Newton and the Buccaneers with quarterback Josh Freeman, two mobile quarterbacks. Who do you think is going to get the win here?
I think this is when we're going to finally meet our disagreement. I'm going to take this one maybe. I think the Buccaneers are going to win this one 21-14, and I think it's going to be a great divisional battle. But I just think with Josh Freeman, he's more of a veteran than Cam Newton. He's been in a winning system before a couple years ago when they went 10-6. He's finally got a number one receiver in Vincent Jackson. I think he's got two really good, reliable running backs in Doug Martin and LeGarrette Blount, who are both really good power backs and got some speed to them. And I like what they did on defense in the first round, getting Mark Barron to youthen up that secondary. And I just think it's going to be a close game, but I think the Buccaneers are going to get off to a good start.
Yeah, I'm going to have to disagree there. I think it's going to be really close, but I'm going to give it to the Panthers 28-24. I think quarterbacks are pretty similar, but I like Cam Newton over him. He rushed for over 800 yards last year, and that's just amazing for a quarterback. He's got number one target Steve Smith, who I think is in my opinion, is better than Vincent Jackson. Also, when it comes down to the running game, like you did say, the Buccaneers do have two good running backs and two powerful and speedy guys, but if you look at the Panthers, they've got D'Angelo Williams, Jonathan Stewart, and Mike Tolbert. Three great running backs, and when you go to power back, you got Mike Tolbert. I got to give it to the Panthers.
Yeah, I like Vincent Jackson over Steve Smith. My reason why is because Vincent Jackson's a bit of a younger, more better, and he's finally getting out of San Diego, which I think is a good thing for him with the holdout situations a couple years ago and everything. I think he's going to have a really good season, and I think he's finally going to give the young quarterback Josh Freeman, but we'll see come Sunday.
All right, our next matchup, we got the Seahawks versus the Cardinals, two young quarterback battles this offseason. They got the Cardinals who went with John Skelton, and the Seahawks went with Russell Wilson. Lou, what quarterback do you think will get the best out of the other team this game?
I think it's going to be Russell Wilson, and the Seahawks are going to win it at a 17-14 score. Neither team really has a dominant offense, but they both have pretty solid defenses. I mean, the only reason really John Skelton won the job is just because Kevin Kolb stunk it up. It was Kevin Kolb's job to lose, and he just didn't take advantage of it. And I just don't see Skelton having a good year this year. So, and that's going to hurt Fitzgerald's production. And I just think the Seahawks, I mean, they're better defensively. I love Earl Thomas and Cam Chancellor in the secondary. And then Bruce Irvin, a first-round pick, is going to help out the pass rush. And I think Russell Wilson really looked good in the preseason, and I think he's going to handle the season opener well, and I think they'll get off to a good start.
I'm going to agree with you there. I got the Seahawks taking it 21-14 for a lot of the reasons you said. Marshawn Lynch, he didn't get suspended, so he's going to play a big factor in this game. As long as they can just stop Larry Fitzgerald and young receiver Michael Floyd, they should be fine and get the win.
Alright, next up, we got a battle of two amazing Super Bowl contending teams this year between the Green Bay Packers and the San Francisco 49ers. Dave, let's kick it off with you and see who you got winning this one.
I'm going to have the Packers winning it 28-20. I think the 49ers have an outstanding defense, an amazing run defense. I don't see Cedric Benson or James Starks doing anything in this one. However, the Packers are more based on their passing game. With so many weapons for NFL MVP Aaron Rodgers, I think he will be able to put up a lot of points, besides playing the best defense in the league. You were saying?
Yeah, I was just going to agree with you on how great the 49ers defense is. But I think the final score is going to be a 28-24 win for the Packers. And I just think that, I actually think the 49ers offense is going to step it up because they know they're going to have to be able to score against the Packers. Because as good as the 49ers defense is, like you said, with all their weapons, they're not going to be able to hold them for long. Like you said, they have 5 legitimate number 2 receivers on their team. You got Jordy Nelson and Greg Jennings, who are the 2 top guys. And then guys like Donald Driver, Jermichael Finley, and Jones, the 5th guy. I just think that it's going to be a close game, but I think Aaron Rodgers is going to beat Alex Smith in this one.
And the Packers don't really have too awful of a defense with Clay Matthews and A.J. Hawk at linebackers, B.J. Raji at defensive tackle, and also Charles Woodson in the secondary. I got the Packers winning it.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with that too, because the Packers defense really was disappointing last year, but I think they're gonna have a bounce back year. The huge loss they did have in the preseason was middle linebacker Desmond Bishop, who I really liked, but they did solidify the pass rush to help Casey Matthews out, Clay Matthews, I'm sorry, with Nick Perry, first-round pick defensive end, and I think that's really going to help solidify the pass rush for the start of the season.
All right, the Sunday night game, the playoff game of the AFC wild card from last season, Steelers versus Broncos, except now with Tebow this year with Peyton Manning. Lou, who do you think's going to win it?
I think the Steelers are going to win this one. I think it's going to be create some controversy, maybe. I think the Steelers are going to take it 23-17. I just don't think that Manning's just going to start being himself right at week 1. I think Dick LeBeau's defense is really going to give Manning a hard time. They have a great, strong secondary with Ike Taylor, Ryan Clark, and Troy Polamalu back there, and their pass rush is really underrated with James Harrison, and I love their linebackers with Lamar Woodley and Lawrence Timmons. So I'm going to give the Steelers the win. I think the defense is really going to shut down Manning.
I'm going to disagree with you there. I think it's going to be a close game, but I'm going to give it to the Broncos by 3, 24-21. Ryan Clark won't be able to play because of his disease or whatever, and I think that Manning is going to have a good game. He's played 4 preseason games. He knows he's back. He's been throwing good, and also Willis McGahee. He's proved that he can be the every down back. Last year, he's a great running back, and I think Broncos are going to take it.
My other thing, too, is with how the Steelers are going to win is, if you look, Rashard Mendenhall is questionable for the game, so he could be a game-time decision and might be ready to go. And I really like the Steelers' running game with him and Isaac Redman as well, and Jonathan Dwyer. They got 3 really good running backs if they can play in this game. And with the Broncos losing Broderick Bunkley in that middle at the defensive tackle, I think that they're going to take advantage of it, run the ball up the middle, and I think the Steelers are going to take this one.
All right, next we got the Bengals versus the Ravens on Monday night, a division matchup. I think this one's going to go to the Ravens here. I do like what the Bengals have done. They brought in Ben Jarvis, Green Ellis. They still have A.J. Green and Andy Dalton, a young quarterback receiving core. But I got to give it to the Ravens 31-24.
I think the Ravens are going to win this as well, 27-20. I think the Bengals are really going to have a really good game here. They're going to try to compete with the Ravens offense. And like you said, I really like the acquisition of Ben Jarvis Greenhouse. It's going to help with the red zone carries. It's going to help them not have to throw the ball as much as they did last season. But I think the Ravens are just too much for the Bengals to handle here. Anquan Boldin and Torrey Smith, two underrated receivers in my opinion. And I think the loss of Terrell Suggs will not hurt them as much because of Joe Flacco taking that next step at becoming an elite quarterback. Alright, so now we got the Chargers versus the Raiders, the last Monday night game, and the last game for week 1 in the season opener. It's the Chargers versus the Oakland Raiders. Dave, who do you think is going to win this division rivalry?
I think it's going to be a close, low-scoring game, but I'm going to give it to the Chargers 17-14. I think Antonio Gates is a great tight end. He's going to be Phillip Rivers' #1 target. Also, they brought in Robert Meacham and ex-Buffalo Bill Roscoe Parrish. He's great in the slot, and he's going to help out the Chargers this year. I got to give the win to the Chargers.
I'm going to disagree with you here. I think the Raiders are going to win this one 20-10. I like the Raiders a lot better than the Chargers. I just don't like Malcolm Floyd and Robert Meacham as two top receivers for the Chargers. I think Rivers is really going to rely on Antonio Gates here, and I don't know if I think the Raiders can stop him. I love what the Raiders have with a healthy Darren McFadden, who's one of the top running backs if he can stay healthy. Carson Palmer's got some good young weapons in Darius Hayward-Bay and Denarius Moore, and I think their defense is a bit underrated. So I think the Raiders are going to win this one at a score of 20-10, getting off to a good start.
Yeah, I like Darren McFadden, especially when he's healthy. He's one of the top backs, like you mentioned. But I'm just not a big fan of Carson Palmer. He's past his prime, and I think the Raiders spent way too much on him.
Yep.
All right, that's going to do it for our Week 1 predictions. Be sure to follow us on Twitter, me at Crest Sports and Louie at DB Sports Talk. Subscribe to us on YouTube, comment, and rate on our videos.